Hello everyone, welcome back, Harry here, thank you for joining me. We are back in Assetto Corsa Competizione. We're back on the low fuel motorsport races. And this week, the daily races were at the Hungaroring. Now, I like the Hungaroring, it's a good circuit, it's very enjoyable to drive, there's a couple of tricky bits. Turn 4 is an absolute knob 95% of the time. Blind over a crest, quite quick, quite tight, and with not a lot of runoff, so that's always fun. This was the first race of the week. We jumped in, we didn't qualify brilliantly, kind of upper mid-pack. My pace wasn't great, pretty standard if you watch my videos by this point. And I just thought, let's just have a solid race, let's just get into it. Let's see how the bread is buttered. Now I'm in the BMW again because I'm a basic bitch. I just haven't tried any other cars. So yeah, that's about it really. I ended up in... Why does it do this? Why can it not work out where you are in the race? I think I'm in P10. I might be in P11. Whatever position I was in, I'm in one better now. At BM, got real wide. Just slipped it up the inside. Slipped it up. Nice and lovely. Okay, so I was in P10. I'm in P9 now. And here comes my first error of the week. Completely unforced. Dropped a tyre onto the grass and yeah, kind of escaped, got a track limits, but it wasn't a notable track limit, so we kind of got away with that. And we're back into P11? Yeah, back into P11, so not a disaster. A good solid top 10 is still well and truly on the cards here, and for the first race of the week I'd be pretty happy with that, to be honest. Last week's antics kind of destroyed my ELO a little bit, trying to rebuild it. So anything in the top 10 that will give me a couple of points towards that, happy days. So I can see there's a guy ahead who's got a drive through, so we've just gained a free place, and we've also just put a move on the BM. Just got a bad run out of the last corner, and I managed to, again, just slip it up. Slip it up. Now, Hungaroring, basic facts you need to know. There are essentially two places to overtake on this track. Braking zone into turn 1, this braking zone into turn 2. There's this as well, which is a decent braking zone, but it's not really a good overtaking spot unless the car in front has had an issue. But I digress. P9, we're trying to... P7 is on the cards here. They're both in front of us. I think P7 is going to be the best that we can get, but let's work towards it. So I get past that BMW in almost a complete carbon copy of the first time I overtook him before I made the mistake. And yeah, we're just slipping it all over the place. Slipping it all over the place. Nice and late down on the brakes. Let's try and get this McLaren, shall we? Excuse me for a second whilst I just have a sip of my tea. So we've skipped a few laps ahead. I hadn't really made any progress. I was faster in the bits of the track where I couldn't overtake. And there is my second unforced error of the week. It's not good, is it? It's not good. I keep on doing these things. And that drops me back down to P9. So we've got 12 minutes of the race left. All to do. Let's go get our P7 back, shall we? Chasing down this Audi for quite a few laps. Wasn't really anywhere near him, and I make a massive cock up here and run into the back of him, which is really embarrassing because I've done this like twice in the last 2 weeks, and it's just painful. I followed the gentleman's code of conduct. I waited for him, let him go ahead so we could resume our battle. Oh, that's a really good tee. But the damage was done by that point. We're in P15 now. I think the guy in the Audi was a bit mad, and he was all 6s and 7s all over the place, and I can't work out whether he had a crash here or whether he literally just pulled off the road. I don't know. He was there for a couple of laps after that though, so I assume he was putting his report video together, which he then submitted, and I did get a penalty for it. So anyway, I've just got my warning number 3 for track limits. So this race is just going to absolute pot at this point. This is just a disaster. We've had 2 unforced errors, 1 crash, which again really was an unforced error. And I'm just absolutely loving track limits. Can't get enough of them. Cannot get enough of them. I've had my 3, 1 more for a drive-through, and there it is. And not only did I get a drive-through, I completely totaled my car as well, within 2 seconds of each other, so... Raging. Raging I was. One absolute disaster. Yeah, christening with fire. So that pushed me back into rookies, because I got a penalty. I got a steward's decision. He submitted a report, and I got a 0.6 safety rating hit, which put me back into rookies again. There's a bit of a pattern here, isn't there? We've seen this before. But yeah, qualified in P2. Everything was going well until I got absolutely ruined out of P2. Not only once, but twice. And then just for good measure, 1 more. There it is. Beautiful. Beautiful. This is what happens when you get in rookies, especially at a track like the Hungaroring. It's a tricky track to race, it really is. But all was not lost. The only reason I was doing this race, obviously, was to get the safety rating back, to get back into the big leagues again. And I know that if you have a couple of impacts within a few seconds of each other, it only counts 1. So I thought I might as well just crack on with the race and don't make any more contacts, don't get any more penalty points, and I should get back into the big leagues anyway. I think I only needed like 0.2 safety rating or something to get back into the Coach Dave big boy races, so might as well crack on. And as it turned out, it was actually really good. It kind of slowed me down a little bit, and I had a real think about the best way to race this track, because it's not just to drive flat out everywhere. You've got to drive at 8/10. You've got to hit your lines, hook it all up, don't overdrive the car, don't slide the car around the medium speed corners and the low speed corners, and just only make moves if you know they're going to stick. And yeah, that's it. If you get knocked offline at the Hungaroring, you're in a world of pain. But yeah, we just made our way back through the pack. We'd fallen right to the back, and we're halfway through the race now, and we're back up into P12. Made some really good overtakes in this race and felt pretty good about it. Got another free position there from a guy with a drive-through, I assume, for track limits. And I think, to be honest, even after that punt at turn 1, this ended up being one of the best races I've done this week, just for enjoyment's sake. I didn't really get that good of a result, but for enjoyment's sake, it was brilliant. I had the pace. I had the pace on most of the cars around me, and I was just kind of, yeah, just putting moves in and just setting good lap times and just loving it. Absolutely loving it. And everyone just kept on driving off the track and giving me free positions, so thank you very much. Got ourselves up to P9. We ended up in P7 after a couple of cars ahead had penalties. You can see there me saying lap 1 was a joke, which, looking at this replay, I don't think anyone could argue with that, really, to be honest. I have no idea where that McLaren came from with that kind of pace. That was wild. Anyway, that got us back into the big boy leagues. So here we are. Let's go get a podium, shall we? I didn't manage to get a podium last week at Indianapolis, and I mean, it didn't keep me up at night, but it pissed me off a little bit because I had a couple of opportunities to do it and I just flapped it over and over and over again, and I didn't want this week to be the same. I qualified really well for this race, qualified in P3. This was a very good opportunity. I knew I had the pace on the people around me. Let's go make some magic happen, shall we? Some magic. So I managed to keep P3 off T1 and T2. Turn 2. Now obviously I haven't put all of the races I've done this week into this video. I have been spun out at turn 2 like 5 or 6 times this week. It's been ludicrous. It's been absolutely ludicrous. And I just don't really know what you're supposed to do. are you just supposed to just jump out the way whenever there's a car behind you at turn 2? Because that kind of feels a little bit, doesn't really feel like racing to me, that, but I had a couple when I was on the outside and left them loads of space on the inside, and they still clipped me. A couple where I was on the inside and I just got ran straight into the back of. It was wild. And I did turn into a bit of a snitch this week. I submitted my first reports, mainly for turn 2 incidents. Kind of regret it a little bit. I actually don't really like reporting people, but it just got to the point where it was really pissing me off and I felt like I had to do something. So, you know, the sheriff of ACC, get your badge on. So anyway, God, I'm really bad at getting just like lost and digressing off, aren't I? We've made it through the first lap. We're still in P3. Things are good. I obviously have the pace to stay with these 2 guys ahead of me. This is good. This is enjoyable. I got a really good run off the last turn, and I wasn't really going for a move there. I just wanted to put him under a bit of pressure. It obviously worked. He missed his braking point, and there we are, up into P2. It's happening, guys. It's happening. Get hype. Get excited. We've jumped many laps ahead. We're on to lap 7 now, towards the end of lap 7, and I don't know whether he was struggling with tyre temps or something, but the guy in the Porsche ahead was really starting to get oversteer. He was really struggling with traction, and I'd managed to take about 1.5 seconds out of him just on this lap alone. And there you go, he has another big snap of oversteer coming out the corner at the traction point, and we just slip it up the inside again. Get a pretty good drive off the last turn, but Porsche's traction is pretty good. I knew that he was going to be a hassle, as it were. 1 lap later, I'd made a couple of mistakes. I'd dropped the ball a couple of times, and he was right on my jacksie again. Moved over to the right. I wanted to defend the inside. I did it nice and early, so there couldn't be any arguments about whether I'd moved. Got on the brakes, nice. Got it slowed down, hit the apex. Beautiful, chef's kiss for that. Heading down into the infamous turn 2. I wanted to the inside. I parked my car in the middle of the road and braked on my braking point. And for about the millionth time this week, get taken out. Get taken out of P2. I've looked at the replay of that incident so many times, and I made it very clear I was going inside, and he just hit the brakes and then swerved into the back of me. It was a very odd incident. But anyway, I was driving angry. I dropped back into P6. And then I made a mistake, so I ended up in P7. But no worries. No worries, everybody. We've still got 3 minutes left. We could get a top 5 here. There's 2 cars ahead of us. Until I do that. And for the second time this week, I have a drive-through for exceeding track limits. So I took my drive-through. It's okay, I'm in 18th. We could get a 16th, 15th here. You know, let's always glass half full. Here we go. There's 17th and there's 16th. Thank you. Let's go chase down this McLaren for 15th. I know that I've got the pace to do it. He seems a long way away, but... Yellow flag, be careful there. Yellow flag. Oh, I forgot about this. Clear on the left. I was fuming. There's no way you can avoid that. Reversing onto a racing line around a blind corner. Anyway, after I'd shouted at the moon for a little while, got calmed down. This was a couple of days after this race here, so we jumped back in. Qualifying was okay. We're car 7, I think qualified P9, so about right. Let's just try and get through the hustle and bustle. We've made a little bit of contact with the car already, but no biggie, ain't no thang. Just try and keep it tidy. Near death of the Audi there. Oh god, it's wild. And I'm going to be very bold and brave here and chuck it up the inside of the Porsche. Not advisable coming into turn 4, if I'm being honest, but he backed out, thankfully. Kind of saved us a bit of hassle there. I did have the inside and I was alongside, so it was my corner, but you never know. You never know with these people. Now we're in P5. Oh, warning for it. Don't start on this again. Let's try and keep those warnings as low as possible, I think, this time. Yeah, we've got a couple of cars up ahead of us. The Porsche had a little go around the side of us there, but in this entire middle section, it's just a no-no. Don't try and overtake people around here. It ends in disaster. Every single time it ends in disaster. So let's get our head down. Let's not make any stupid mistakes. Let's not get some drive-throughs, and let's just see what we can do. A top 5 in this race with the pace that I had was kind of where I expected. A top 5 was the target. To be honest, I just wanted to finish a fucking race at this point. Oh god, I was so sick of this. I was so sick of this race. It's quite funny actually, you know, because when I started to go through the footage for this week for this video, in my brain I'd had like the worst week in the entire world, and it had been terrible and everything was awful, and I'd crashed and I'd not had any good results, but I'd actually had a handful of like top 5s this week, which, to be honest, my first week on the Hungaroring on ACC I think is actually pretty respectable, but it's weird how your brain forgets about that, isn't it? Just focuses on the negatives all the time. Yeah, it's probably why I spend so much time indoors playing racing games. Anyway, that got deep. We're on P5. No, Harry, don't do this. We're not getting any more warnings for track limits. Lap 2. All these cars ahead were scrapping like crazy, and they were doing exactly what I said you shouldn't do before. Don't try and pass in the middle sector. Even if you're faster, just don't do it, because things like that happen. You will only lose time. You will not gain anything. You might gain a position, but to be honest, you're probably going to lose it again anyway when someone behind who hasn't got caught up in the overtaking manoeuvre just flies past you. So they weren't being particularly wise, and we've moved ourselves up into P4. So this is going well. Trying my best to not overdrive. I'd been overdriving a little bit earlier in the week, and I'd just been getting a bit snappy on the throttle. I've been snagging some brakes occasionally, and this was my goal, just to keep it tidy, try not to slide the car too much, and just be gentle with everything. Just caress it around the racetrack. This kind of track, although the surface isn't low grip, it doesn't appreciate a rough touch. Is probably the easiest way to say it. This BM goes around the outside and then just kind of turns in on me. I don't really know where he expected me to go, but it's not a disaster. We survived. There was a lot of quite aggressive manoeuvres this week. It was kind of a battle of survival, really. Unless you're out front and you had the pace to just drive away from everybody, it was yeah, survival. I hate this turn. I mean, I like it, but I hate it. No, Harry, don't do that, don't do that. Okay, no time gained. Thank you. Just trying to avoid a drive-through. Yeah, this BM was... Obviously, I passed him earlier in the race when he'd made a mistake, and he was being very aggressive, flashing his lights. I think he kind of felt like he deserved to be further up the road, but at the end of the day, he made the mistake, not me, so... And because he was being so aggressive with his moves, I was kind of driving a little bit defensively, and it was costing us both time. If we kind of worked together, it would have been an awful lot better, because we could have dragged ourselves up to the top 3, but whatever floats your boat, whatever stirs your tea. But we're not out of the game here. We're not out of the game at all. There's only 1.5 seconds to P3, and on this track, that's one mistake in the middle sector, and you'll lose a second. So keep it tidy, keep your powder dry, and just try and keep it together. The BM behind made a bit of a mistake there, and he really dropped off my back bumper, which gave me a bit of room to breathe, which was quite nice, because it meant I could just get my head down and focus on putting some lap times in. By the looks of things, my fastest lap so far has been a 47. I was running in the 44s for most of this race, I do believe, or low 45s. So we've managed to get caught up to the Audi in P3. several laps later, and he was looking pretty weak actually. The traction was not good. He was sliding the car a lot, just the standard stuff, and I thought, I'll just have a bit of this. Tucked right nice behind him in his slipstream, and if I remember correctly, do I just dive bomb the hell out of it? I remember. I wasn't actually going to go for a move there, and he kind of like darted to the right under braking, and it really put me off, and for whatever reason I released the brake a little bit because I didn't want to lock up into him, and yeah, it all got a little bit messy. BM behind decided that I needed to be moved on a little bit, so thanks mate, I'll take those 4 incident points, you utter knob. Anyway, skipped a couple of laps ahead, and we're back on the bumper of the Audi. The BM's disappeared, and it's game on. It's game on for the podium. I would very much like it if we could get round this Audi, and yeah, that's exactly what we did. He got a really bad run out of that right-hander, and I just tucked it up the inside, parked it on the apex so he couldn't get a cutback, and then just did the same here, just braked, parked it on the apex, rolled it round, and there we are, podium position. We weren't going to catch P1 and P2, they were too far ahead in the distance, but a P3 would be absolutely delightful. However, the Audi wasn't going to give it up that easy. Mr. Lottensohn, he was a worthy adversary. It had taken me many laps to catch up with him in the first place, and I knew that we were about on pace. So it was going to be interesting to see what happened now I was ahead, because following is always easier. And this was a couple of laps later, and he was still only half a second behind. Until he dropped it. Dropped it and parked it on the grass. Beautiful, beautiful scenes. And to be honest, for the next 6 minutes and 16 seconds, absolutely nothing happened. I gained about 2 seconds to the car ahead. Wasn't anywhere near passing him. Thanks, mate. And there we are. A podium at last. A podium at last. Yeah, I really enjoyed the racing this week, apart from all the times of just desperate despair, but these things happen, it's just sim racing. Summed up, isn't it, really? That sometimes it's good and sometimes it's really shit. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. Thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, you're a hero as always. Take care of yourself, look out for the people around you, and I will see you very soon. Bye bye.